You know, they say New York is the greatest city in the world. It is also perhaps the most amazing. You never know what you're going to find in the skyscrapers of Manhattan. For example, right here in Chelsea, just off 7th Avenue, is the largest brick distributor in the entire New York metropolitan area. The fact is, if it has anything to do with brick, you will find it right here, 9 stories straight up. This is the Tri-State Brick and Building Materials Company, which represents the finest brick manufacturers in the U.S. and is the biggest supplier and distributor of brick in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and eastern Pennsylvania area. We learn more about the company from the president, Bob Terzilli.
This is a brick distribution company, Doug, and basically there are 2 types of companies who do this, residential and commercial. We're more commercial. What that means is we work with architects. Our jobs start with architects for the most part. We work with them regarding the color of the brick, the shape of the brick, the size of the brick, the texture of the brick, and anything else that comes into their minds that we can help them with. We then try to obtain a specification for our material. The job then goes out for bids. We bid to general contractors, construction managers. We then work with mason contractors to secure an order, and we then supply the material to the job.
How many different types of brick are there that you carry?
Thousands of different. If they're not different colors, it may be the same brick in 3 different textures. And architects are very selective about the texture of their brick as well as the color. So 1 brick may be 4 brick with 4 different textures.
Tell me about the different kinds of bricks. What are they specifically?
Doug, basically brick are manufactured in 2 different ways. They are extruded or they are molded. This is an example of an extruded brick.
And what does that mean?
It means it's pushed out by a machine and cut by a wire, and you can see how straight the arises are. Very smooth, although the smoothness doesn't really mean anything. It could be an extruded brick with a rough texture as well on the face, okay. But that's one manufacturing process. Okay. The other manufacturing process is what we call molded brick, and these are much more not quite as sharp as an aris. The word molded is how they used to, how they made brick thousands of years ago.
You know, it's really amazing, all the different samples you have here. And is it really the only difference is the color and texture?
Color is a very important factor to the architect. He has this idea in his mind. He's got this scheme that he wants to accomplish. And it's interesting because there are times when we think we've hit it and we haven't. We've got to go back and try again. So our job is to make sure that we have enough samples and we represent enough manufacturers so that we can work every single job that architect's got on the drawing board. We want to make sure that we have enough product and we can always satisfy what their needs are.
So the whole thing starts with the architect?
No question. In our business, in our end of the distribution business, the architect is the guy that we go to first for the most part, and he tells us, he leads us, and then we try to help him design the building he's looking for.
Tri-State Brick is an architectural distributor for us in the New York metropolitan area. There are a bunch of great professionals. They do a wonderful job in the architectural market, and our association with Tri-State goes back for many years. And if you're going to sell product in the New York City area, Tri-State would be the people to talk to.
What happens here when an order comes into the shop?
When an order comes in, most of the work is already done. You know, we've worked with the architect, we've worked with the contractors. Now we've worked with a mason contractor to acquire an order. We place that order with whatever manufacturer is the selected manufacturer. We then have to coordinate timing. We have to coordinate the manufacture of the material to when the project needs the brick on the job.
And you have to coordinate all the delivery, right?
Then that's the next step. After we've gotten the material manufactured, now we've got to get it here.
You know, it's interesting because in a city like New York, as I understand it, they don't normally have storage space to handle a full load of brick for a job.
If you're supplying brick somewhere in the Midwest, you've got on a school, for instance, you've got a site that's probably a few acres large, and you can just go put all the brick on the site, and the contractor takes it when he needs it. When you're dealing with the situation we have here in the city, or even in the boroughs, they don't have that kind of space. So we've got to coordinate these deliveries almost on an hourly basis. I mean, they say they want brick at 7 o'clock in the morning. You've got to have it there at 7 o'clock in the morning.
How many different manufacturers of bricks do you actually work with and represent?
We represent probably anywhere from 25 to 28 different manufacturers.
How has technology impacted this business? I mean, has there been anything new?
The technology that has come on board has made the manufacturers the ability to make brick faster, less expensive, with new kilns that have been developed over the many, many years. What has changed is the color schemes that architects come up with. You know, we are sitting in New York, which is the architectural capital of the world, with world-renowned architects, and they have their own ideas. They don't want to do what the last guy did. They come up with new, and so they're always asking us, what's new, what's different? And we're always pushing our manufacturers to come up with colors that are a little bit different, a little bit with more texture perhaps, or more a little deeper this, or a little deeper red, or a little deeper gray, or something that could be different for the architect to grab onto.
We consider the exterior design of the building the suit, the first impression that a building has, and in turn that suit is what sells or rents a building. In working with Tri-State Brick Company, they help us in the selection of bricks, and you can see how mixing up bricks, whether they be the size of the bricks, the shape of the bricks, the color of the bricks, can add a lot of specialty to the exterior of the building.
The knowledge of brick is extensive. They've taken us trips to the plants and see the different bricks and how they're made and how they're built. No questions we ever ask them, it's always correct, and we trust them and we have confidence in them, and they've never let us down. They've proved to us that they could be the top brick company, and it makes our life easier if I can call them up and say, hey, I need this, this, and this. Okay, we'll have it to you tomorrow, and we'll have mortar joints, and they'll help us with the mortar, and they'll explain to us how brick is put together. They'll have seminars that come here. They educate the office. They show us all kinds of things.
And in terms of size, how big would you say this company is in this industry?
There may be people who sell more brick, but on the architectural end, the commercial end, we believe we're the largest distributor in New York.
What's the Tri-State team, and what's the difference in renovation versus new construction?
Well, the Tri-State team is a number of salespeople, our inside people, our shipping department, which is a very, very important part of our scheme here, as we've talked about. But the renovation part is basically match jobs. These are old buildings that have either deteriorated because, usually not because the brick has deteriorated, by the way. Usually the steel behind it has deteriorated and shifted and moved, and so there's cracks in the buildings that need to be addressed. Many a time the mortar joints have deteriorated. So we have to go back in, and we've got to try to find the best available match for these buildings, because, you know, again, we're in New York. These are expensive buildings, and the owners want their buildings to look as good as they possibly can. So we do everything we possibly can, including, if we don't have the right material, we'll send them to one of our competitors to make sure that he gets the right material.
When you come right down to it, what are the real benefits of building with brick?
Building with brick is the easiest and oldest thing in the book. Brick has been used for thousands of years, and these buildings are still standing. In addition, you have so many different options as an architect. There are so many different shapes you can use. If you want rounded corners, the brick industry can do that. You know, here's a corner that could be a 135-degree corner, and they can just, you know, turn it one way or turn it the other, and make that corner turn without having a 90-degree angle. And that can be done in any angle. It really doesn't make any difference. So it affords the architect so many options, so many design opportunities that you can't get with other products. With that factor, and the factor that we have a building that's going to last for many, many, many years, that's one of the true advantages of brick. Plus, we still are very, very competitive, and in most cases, costs less to build with brick than it does glass or limestone or other products like that.
And have you ever had an architect come to you and ask for a custom brick to be designed that you've been able to help them out on?
We've done a number of jobs, maybe 4 or 5. And when I say 4 or 5, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the projects that I'm talking about had at least 150 different shapes, individual shapes on each one of those buildings. Not all manufacturers are capable of doing such a job like that. It's important, again, that when an architect walks in here and he said, well, I like this brick, but if that manufacturer is not capable of doing 150 shapes, well, then I'm going to lead him down the wrong path, and we're going to have problems later. So we've got to coordinate the kinds of manufacturers we deal with to what that architect's looking for.
Explain to me about something I've heard called thin brick and the tab system. What's that?
Instead of being a brick that's 3 5/8 inches deep, it's a 1/2 inch deep, made from the same exact material that this brick is made from. Tabs 2 is a metal system where these thin brick sit on tabs. They get glued to this metal system and then get mortared all around it.
This is a thin brick. Thin brick, of course, is only 1/2 inch thick compared to the 3 5/8 brick that's now in the marketplace. So what we have done is we've made a template or a steel panel that now encompasses spacing and small lintel. And what have we done? We've made double tabs into the panel, and they in turn support the thin brick, and they also show you how to space the thin brick. So now we do not need a skilled trade to install the product. Notice here we have some double tabs. So now this shows you exactly how I want, if I want to build a brick wall, it's complete. I come back, of course, after I apply the adhesive, which these were set up before. I've applied the adhesive. Once it's set up, I'm going to come back and tuck point it and mortar it. I now have a steel reinforced masonry wall, but it's only a 1/2 inch thick. Most of the manufacturers who make full face brick also make thin brick. The costs are more economical in a lot of areas. We can call this a green product for the simple fact that we don't take as much heat to bake or to set the brick in style. I have the same colors and textures. I have a mechanical way of fastening this brick, which I didn't before, and I've locked it in place. And the future is growing because of not only the demand, because we have less skilled masons in the marketplace, but our building codes are changing. We have to worry about seismographic effects. Now, with a product like this, because it is steel and it rides on a wall, I don't have to reinforce it. This product, the way this is designed right here, this will take a hurricane wind up to 100 stories in the air without any problem at all. So now structurally we have a product that'll handle all the loads, it'll handle the building code changes that we're worried about, and we're basically designing something for the future.
Doug, these are different kinds of brick, as we were talking about before. These are molded brick, and each one of them, they all start out looking the same way. They're all red brick. They change because we put a different color sand on them, and then all of a sudden we've got 10 different kinds of brick, 10 different colors. Some are lighter, some are darker, but they all basically start out the same way. Each one has an individual name to it, and we present it to the architect and hope that he likes it.
But where do you have facilities, and what geographic area does this company serve?
Doug, we have offices in Connecticut, in Manchester, Connecticut, which services the Connecticut territory, as well as Boston and Rhode Island. We obviously have our office here that covers the New York and northern New Jersey market, and we have an office in southern New Jersey, which covers that territory and the Philadelphia, eastern Pennsylvania market.
So you have a pretty big footprint in this business, don't you?
Yes, we do, and we've developed that over the last 15 years, and we're very proud of it.
And so there you are, everything you always wanted to know about brick but didn't even know enough to ask from the experts here at Tri-State Brick and Building Materials. The bottom line, amazingly, if it has anything to do with brick, you'll find the answer right here on the 9th floor of a skyscraper in Chelsea. I'm Doug Llewellyn reporting from New York.